You're listening to Supervision with a Vision, where we discuss all things supervision. I'm your host, Sarah, professional counselor, marriage and family therapist, play therapist, eating disorder specialist, and cookie lover, with my co-host, Heather, marriage and family therapist, certified Together in Texas counselor, a Texas transplant from California, and outdoor adventurer. Hi, welcome to Supervision with a Vision. Today, Heather and I are talking about beginnings and endings. This week we read Bookends, The Power of Beginnings and Endings in Interactions, published in Psychology Today, 2024. Heather, counselors do a lot of beginnings and endings.
Yeah, on repeat.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah. Do you imagine that we have more beginnings and endings than most other people?
Absolutely. I mean, I just think, I don't know, because I think there's some other practitioners out there that maybe have more than us, but we have the relationship in between.
Okay, so can you think of an example of a professional or a job where you have a lot of beginnings and endings, but not the same kind of relationship that we end up with?
Urgent care doctor.
Okay.
Or like a nurse practitioner. And in it, like, you're not necessarily, like, I'm thinking of places that they're not necessarily your patient, but it's a quick visit because you've got the flu and you're not going to your regular doctor. It's just a...
What about maybe, I don't know, teachers?
Mm-hmm.
And they do build a relationship.
Yep, they have the relationship
full
part.
classroom full of kids, and then they say hi, and then they say goodbye at the end of the year. Your dentist?
Sure. You you don't have a deep relationship, but you're seeing them a couple times.
You know them, kind of ish.
Right. You're probably going back to the same dentist in a pattern.
I can only think of right now. I can only think of ones where you really do develop a relationship, like the person that cuts your hair.
Sure.
You sometimes you know them for quite a while, and you do.
Yep. You talk.
Yeah. We don't see them as often as you would see your counselor.
Mm-hmm. What about places that have like quick visits? Like, what if it's like, if you don't have a hair person, but you're just going into like a quick salon kind of place, like,
I mean, this sounds funny, but when I was working at an eating disorder program, in the very beginning, I was doing all the grocery shopping for the program.
Okay.
And I would go to the grocery store at like 6 a.m, like right when they open. I knew all the people at the grocery store at 6 a.m.
Right.
And not on a very deep level.
Right. Just like, I'm here again.
But they knew some. And I'm sure they thought whatever I was doing at 6 a.m. was really weird. But I knew them. And then I left that job and moved.
Oh, so you just kind of...
And so that routine really changed. And I actually thought, I feel like I should go back and let them know.
That grocery store, yeah.
Well, I thought I should let them know I'm okay. Nothing happened.
Right.
I just changed my routine. But
it's different.
So that was a beginning and an ending.
Right. Without too much of a deep relationship other than just familiar faces.
So in the article, Heather, the first point is that beginnings and endings really set the tone for how things go.
Sure. I think especially at the beginning of, whether you're on the side of looking for a counselor or looking for a supervisor, that first contact that you have with, like, either you're calling them back to do like a phone consultation or you're just chatting with them about what you do and who you are. I think it does absolutely set the tone for how it could be in session.
What about if we're talking about the very, very beginning of when the tone is set, could be even your waiting area?
Sure.
What if someone walked in, and I'm thinking about your waiting area. I always expect it's going to be basically the same.
Right.
It feels calm.
Right.
I walk in, it's like welcoming and comfortable. You have a lamp on. What if you walked in and it looked like you were just moving in?
Right.
Or just moving out.
Right. Boxes or just some scattered things or...
Or what if you walked in and there was trash?
Right. Right. It really sets a tone.
Like, I don't know, somebody left McDonald's for lunch, like
Before,
there in the waiting area for some reason. That would kind of like...
All of it sets the tone.
Weird. Set the tone. When you set up your waiting area, what did you think about that you wanted there versus what you don't want?
I think I wanted it to look super welcoming and comfortable, meaning that there's enough spots that if you did have multiple people in your waiting room, that everyone could kind of have their own space and not have to overlap if they didn't want to. And then I think it was also like I have a plant, I have a
Uh-huh.
lamp. I mean, very more like home relaxed versus office. So
Uh-huh.
I was trying to bring in more like homey feel.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Um, when I thought about my waiting area, I intentionally thought about not either being too masculine or
Right?
too feminine.
Exactly. Not being very down the middle,
Right,
right?
that either a man or a woman could sit in that space and not feel like this is a weird space, this isn't meant for me.
Right.
That they could both be
Right.
comfortable.
And I think, I mean, I know for sure you did this, but we did this a lot here too. Is like, and we're dealing with families, so you might want to have smaller things for children
Yes.
to be able to
Mm-hmm.
be on or be comfortable in
Mm-hmm.
and just be aware of the space.
Mm-hmm. I have a small lending library
Hmm.
that includes something an adult might read and something a child might read
Hmm.
and different in
Right.
between
Right.
for that purpose. So it
Hmm.
feels like this is a space that
Right.
different kinds of people could be comfortable
Right.
in.
Right.
Um, what do you do? What if you're setting the tone, how do you avoid setting a tone that you didn't mean to send or set rather?
Hmm. I think I actually am guilty of this in a strange kind of way. Sometimes when I have emails for like new patients coming in or new supervisees that
Hmm.
are interested in interviewing me to be their supervisor, I am not the best at responding to those in a very timely manner. So they kind of tend to like, oh, I really need to respond to that. It's been since Monday and maybe it's Friday. Like I tend
Hmm.
to like make
Hmm.
that not my priority to get to right away because usually when I'm in my emails, I have something to do for a client or something that needs to be
Yeah.
addressed in a different way. And that's kind of something I put on the back burner.
Uh-huh.
So I often find myself at the beginning of those interactions realizing like, should I be apologizing? It took me so long to get to the, like, should I like be
Mm,
starting with a
yeah.
like,
So something you could get better at
right?
would be responding more promptly. I'm
Mm-hmm.
bad at that too.
Yeah.
I try to tell people that my form of communication that I like the least and I'm probably the least good at is
Hmm.
phone.
Yeah. So they
So
understand.
they know.
Yeah.
Like if you're trying to get me and I want to be responsive, the
Hmm.
best way to get me is probably email.
Right. So you're letting them know in advance, like, hey, this
Yeah.
is something good
Right.
to,
That I want to well, and maybe I hope that I'm communicating that I want to be responsive. So my intent
is right.
not to be
Right.
unresponsive, but
I think it also sets the tone in the flip way. Like, if I get an email from a client that, I mean, a lot can be said in a short amount of time, like a little
hmm
paragraph about who they are or why they want counseling. I think that I find myself sometimes being very like, whoa, that was a lot, or like knowing the energy that the client or the supervisee is bringing in.
uh
Like, if there's no grammar, or if it's
yeah,
like a run-on sentence
yeah.
about the stuff they're dealing with, it almost does set the tone of like, okay, this person, it quite possibly is dealing with a lot of chaos, or like it may
Hmm.
not be their normal about what they put in,
Hmm.
but when they're responding or trying to set up an appointment, they might be
Yeah,
more on the anxious side or
right.
panicky.
Huh, yeah. I don't know that I'd really thought I do that, but I don't know that how much time I'd put into thinking about, this is the tone they're setting by
Right.
what they're doing.
Right.
Um, when I meet someone in the same scenario, I really try to um, let them know what I think is reasonable from them.
Right.
So, for example, I see a lot of kids. I can appreciate that having a counselor work with your child might feel like, I don't know what's going on in the
Sure.
session.
Yeah.
I don't know if if progress is being made. I don't know. There's a lot of questions that I set the parent up from the first time we meet to know what to expect from me as far as communication.
Oh, absolutely.
Hoping that it sets them at ease and they think,
Right.
she already told us how this would work.
Right.
That I tell them, you're going to hear from me. You can reach me phone, email, face
Hmm.
to face.
Right.
If it's a conversation that I think is going to take a little more time, then I'm going to ask you to plan a time with me.
Hmm.
If you think it's going to take a little more time, then
Go ahead and set that up. Right.
just like, please, we can
Hmm.
make time to do that with each other. Um, I had forgotten about this. The first time I meet them, I am very clear that I expect to meet them without their child present,
Right.
so that we don't feel rushed,
Hmm.
so that we don't worry about little ears trying to listen.
Hmm.
I don't know if I've ever told you this. This was not the office I'm in now, but a previous office, and there was a couch. It looked really nice. There was a couch that was pushed against the wall
Hmm.
opposite where my chair
right.
was.
Yes.
So right on the other side, so in my office, right on the other side of the wall was the waiting area, and there was a couch. And I'm meeting with a mom for the first time, and I think her child was 10, 11, 12-ish. And after meeting, and the child was waiting in the waiting area, I'd asked mom not to bring her, but she did.
Yeah.
And we go out, and I remember thinking, it's awfully quiet. And we go out, we finished, we go out, and the child is standing on the couch, ear to little bent over,
ear to the wall,
totally listening. And when I opened the door, the kid's face went,
right.
I'm caught standing on the couch with my ear against the wall trying to listen. I try and set the tone so that the parents know that they're going to get my undivided attention, what we can do to be successful with each other in that first meeting, and what they can expect from me moving on.
Right.
Have you ever thought that you started a beginning and you did not set the right tone, and you thought, oh, that was a goof? That was not a good start.
Probably. And I'm thinking of some probably more like blended family scenarios, or like things where there's just a lot of dynamics going on. But I think I've learned from that. I think that it's something now that I'm aware of. And so I come in maybe a little stronger and a little bit more like ordered about like, this is how it will be, and being very straightforward. I don't tend to have to do that with individual clients. So
yeah,
that tends to be something that's really important if it's a blended family situation with lots of extra.
The way that I talk to parents, I think, came from making the mistake.
Right, you make a mistake and you learn.
That maybe I didn't say, please come by yourself, and they come with 3 kids and a baby and a carrier.
Right, and they're trying to have a conversation about...
And maybe I can remember a mom that came with 2 school-age kids, one of which I would be seeing, a baby and a carrier, and she came with fast food dinner for all of them.
Oh.
And came into the office and like,
whoosh.
Yeah, like they're going to sit down and have dinner while they talk to me. And I went, oh, this is, or I don't have a ton of rules in my office, but totally for me and not for anybody else, I do not allow gum in my office.
Oh, yeah.
And I just have had too many times where the gum ended up in the kid's hair.
Right.
Or the carpet.
Or the couch.
Or on a toy, stuck on a toy. Or something that I went, I just don't want to do that. It just annoys me to have to clean it up.
Right.
So why? The same thing with diapers.
Oh, yeah.
That parents will call and ask, or someone might ask how young of a child I might see. And I'll see pretty young kids, but no diapers. No kids that still use diapers. It just really took one blowout.
Yeah, and you're like, oh, no, not doing that anymore.
No,
we're all done.
I don't want to clean that up, and I don't really want anyone else to have to clean that up in my office.
Right.
I just don't want it in there. So things that I think I figured out, if I set the tone from the beginning that that's just not something that we're going to do, then we can avoid a lot of problems. Okay, do you need to set the tone for an ending?
I think so. I think it's important for our clients. In supervision, it's one thing because we know their hours are coming to an end and they're going to be fully licensed soon. So it's almost like predictable. And sometimes with a client, it can be very predictable. But I think it's important as clients are graduating out or finishing this turn of therapy that we like identify, like things are really great. Like you're doing, and I tend to do that. I'm not going to say early on, but I purposely reduce my sessions.
Yes.
Like, oh, you know what? I think we can go 2 weeks, like, and start spacing them out. That usually is a sign that the ending is coming. But then I also want to be really directive of like, okay, so next time will be our last session for a while until you need something again. And I try to leave it very open-ended, but so that they feel that they could come back to therapy. But also I leave it open-ended for like, if they're not ready, they can say, well, actually now can we talk about this? And that's happened a few times where it's like, well, yes, you helped me with this, but now can we talk about this other thing?
It does make sense that you would need to set the tone for an ending if the people that we're describing haven't ever had a beginning in counseling. They certainly
never had an ending. Right.
I don't know what percentage, but a good amount of the people that I see haven't had a successful ending.
Oh, right. They've maybe stopped abruptly.
Right. It just kind of fizzled. Something happened that they didn't have a wrap up or a conclusion. And so I really try to make sure I help facilitate an ending that makes sense.
Right.
What do you think you might do if you were thinking, I want to make sure they have an ending that feels like, I don't know, I'm telling myself a success.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Hey, quick question for you. Are you someone who wants to be fit, healthy, and happy? And what if I told you could get your dream body by simply just listening to a podcast? I'm Josh.
And I'm KG, and we are the hosts of the Fit, Healthy, and Happy podcast.
Listen, we get it. Fitness isn't easy. Carbs, no carbs.
Just stop, okay? It doesn't have to be that complicated. And that's why we made this podcast. We get straight to the facts so you can become your best you.
So the way to check us out is click the link in the show notes or search Fit, Healthy, and Happy podcast on any of the major podcast platforms. We'll see you soon.
Right. I've had a couple of clients where I just saw pretty like, okay, they're going to need this structure. They need to know. And so like planning, like I've done a couple of different things with them as like how to say goodbye or like doing different, like, I don't know that I really fall to the, I heard of some counselors that do like a little, like, you've completed 20 sessions of therapy or whatever. I don't really, my heart doesn't go that way. I'm much more about the connection, but just really acknowledging like what we've covered.
Right.
Like when you first came to therapy, we were talking about this and now we've done these things.
So, I like that. So you're saying that you might not say you've reached 20 sessions,
ta-da,
because that might not fit every single person. But that you try to find the individualized way to say that, where you recognize or reflect on, this is the thing you've accomplished. I think I do that. I think I'm also, tell me if this has ever happened to you. I have a client where I've known them for a while and I can see signs that they are about to dip out, maybe giving me like an Irish goodbye. They're just going to disappear on me.
Bye-bye.
Or something's happening where I realize I can anticipate they're getting close to leaving something. That I try to help, because they have done really great work, I try to help them come to an ending that isn't abrupt, isn't unceremonious, that doesn't feel, that's unsuccessful. So maybe, gladly, this doesn't happen in outpatient practice, but maybe at a higher level of care, you realize they're nearing the end because ultimately their insurance is going to stop paying for this, and it's not reasonable to expect that they're going to continue without insurance coverage. And so maybe I find the successes and help them to reflect on the successes and see the progress they've made and help them make sure that they transition in a way that makes sense to the next thing. So that you set the tone for, you did something important.
Something was accomplished, and even though it might not be all of what you wanted to accomplish, like something was done. This is a good... So in outpatient practice, or my outpatient setting, I think that happens with maybe the last person I can think of was like teenager, finishing high school, going to college. And so I knew that ending was coming and we hadn't really achieved all of our goals, but we'd achieved a lot. And I didn't want them to leave thinking, oh, but I didn't finish or I didn't accomplish everything, but helping them to see that they did accomplish a lot. And then that they were ready for a next thing. Or maybe I can think of somebody that I'm seeing right now that they haven't really addressed the things that I would wish for them that they could address, but they've addressed the things that they were ready to deal with or work on or motivated to work on, and helping them to feel like, okay, you did it. And leaving the door open like you've described too. And you might come back. You might come back to this at some point, and that's also okay. So setting the tone for that. I think that happens. That age group is very specific too. I think that happens. We know it's coming. Maybe they're going out of state for school, or maybe it's just like, I've had situations where they're not on their parents' insurance anymore, and that's a problem. So, I mean, there are different situations that come up that it could feel abrupt, like where you but you do want to make sure you have that setting the tone of like, this is the ending for now. And
I think that is something that a new supervisee or someone who's kind of feeling this out, they haven't done that before. Do you think that what we're talking about, anticipating those, like, I don't know. I maybe an example of how I see this happening or I anticipate it is someone who's been really consistent
Hmm.
starts canceling appointments every once in a
Right.
while.
Or just misses one altogether, like
Right.
unspoken, just like,
Right.
whoops. Like,
Or they come and they start going, I don't know, I don't think I have anything to
right.
talk about this.
I'm really good this week. Okay,
Right.
why are you here?
Right. That as a really new counselor, you might not catch that.
Right.
It takes some practice. It
Mhm.
takes a lot of, not a lot, but it takes people in the chair, people in across from
Right.
you, and seeing that before you start to notice patterns or realize
Sure.
this is how this goes. So maybe that's something that you support a new supervisee in
Mhm.
realizing or noticing.
Hmm. And I think it's also important to talk to them about like sometimes you'll have those people that come and it just wasn't a right fit. And
Mhm.
so it's not, you don't get that goodbye. They just stop coming
Right,
or
yeah,
whatever. But
yeah.
it's important to figure the why out, at least on the
Yes.
supervisee's side of like, well, why do we think that happened? What things did you pick up on? So
Mhm.
that, again, it goes back to setting the tone so
Mhm.
that the tone doesn't have to be that this person just disappears,
Yes,
that they
yeah.
could just communicate, oh, I need to see someone
Right.
else. Or,
I'm
you know,
so glad you brought that up. Yes, because all of this does set the tone and it does create a pattern. I remember a supervisee I had, now it's been quite a while. Um, and they had, I don't know, in a month, they would see, it was a big number,
yeah.
20 new clients
Oh,
and only had maybe like 5 that were ongoing.
oh,
And this
okay.
was not just one
Right.
month, but month after
A month, and you're
So
like,
they were saying hi
mm,
and goodbye to a lot of
right,
people. And at first, I didn't realize that until
right. You
we
get
were
more into
getting,
it. Yeah.
and once they said it, I went, whoa.
Why is that?
So what do you think that's about? And their immediate reaction was all to do about the client
Ah,
and
not
not
to own anything.
right.
Okay.
They weren't reflecting on the
Right.
beginning or the tone they were setting or what impact they might have
Mhm.
on the quick turnaround, meeting
Mhm.
people and saying goodbye. So yeah. I mean, that's the second point in our article, lasting impression. I think we've talked a lot about that.
Yeah.
How a beginning and an ending sets a lasting impression for the relationship that you're going to have or the way they experience or go on like
Right.
after your relationship, thinking about counseling, its
Mhm.
effectiveness, its
Right.
purpose. So the last point in our article is that beginnings and endings shape the future.
Okay.
How do you think beginnings and endings shape not just our relationship, but
Right.
the future?
So I think actually what you just said was a perfect example right beforehand is that sometimes they're not continuing with us, but we want them to be open to considering counseling somewhere else. I had a supervisee that I adored and we were great. Like it worked really well between us, but she needed to move on to a supervisor that was specific to what she wanted to pursue. And I'm not EMDR,
Mhm,
certified or anything. And I was like, please go do that. I want that for you.
Mm-hmm.
But it was hard for us to like find that like line of like, okay, this is when I'm ending. Like,
Yeah.
okay, so it'll be next week. It was just like constant.
Yeah.
But it worked out really well in the end. I mean, she's a great colleague now. So
Mm-hmm. Not long ago, I was trying to describe how I knew someone in this kind of spider web
Right.
of how I knew these
Mhm.
people and realized a lot of, I kept going back and going, oh, well, I know them through this and through this person and through
Mhm.
this
Right.
person and realized it's a good example of a supervisee I knew and our paths crossed in one work setting. And then we both moved on to different work
Mhm.
settings. And then our paths crossed again.
Right. And you're like,
So-
isn't that strange?
Right.
The world, yeah.
So the tone that we set working together, the way that we ended things
Mhm.
allowed us to, again, come back together
And work again.
and not just come back together, but build all these other relationships
Right.
connected to that.
Right.
Um,
I mean, you just hit all three
Probably.
points. You set a
Yeah.
tone, it had a lasting impression, and
yeah.
that
Right.
beginning ending cycle.
And really, as I was thinking back about it recently, I thought those were some of my favorite supervisees that
Mhm.
they all had this connected path. So I do think, I was thinking too, related to beginnings and endings and shaping the future. One of my first jobs out of school was at a hospital where the turnaround time for clients or patients was days.
Right.
And at first I was really frustrated that this
Yeah.
didn't, how much counseling was I getting to do?
Hmm.
But I changed my attitude about it and thought my goal is to send them off with an impression that counselors are good people and they're
Right.
helpful and important. And if I needed a counselor, I would go find a counselor,
Right.
and I would go back to that. And when I didn't often get that feedback because it was such a quick turnaround. So
Right.
that the clients weren't saying to me, wow, you changed my impression of
Right.
counselor. But so I had to do that for myself. I had to think, do I think they left here
With a good impression, like
Right.
an overall positive.
thinking,
Yeah.
oh, counseling, that
Yeah.
was a good thing.
Mhm.
But that helped me
Mhm.
in my perspective in that role,
Right.
that job. And I hope that it helped them and left them with a lasting impression.
Yeah, absolutely. Good.
So, Heather and I would love to hear about some of your favorite beginnings and endings, either related to counseling or supervision. And as always, Heather and I would love to hear about suggestions for future episodes. Thanks today for listening to Supervision with a Vision. You've been listening to Supervision with a Vision. Head on over to iTunes to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. Be sure to check us out on Facebook and Instagram at Therapy Academy to join the conversation and get show notes. We'll be back next week with more Supervision with a Vision.